In this lesson, we are going to talk about my favorite subject, which is basic design principles. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to overwhelm you with a ton of jargon that you don't understand or anything like that. It's not going to be too super complicated. I just want to give you some basic design rules for our next lesson, which is creating from scratch on Canva. So, our first design principle is balance. And by definition, that means the equal distribution of weight. So when a design is balanced, it holds together well and is visually appealing and harmonious. So you know when you see something and you're like, wow, that is fabulous, whether it's a piece of art, an ad graphic, or a poster, or it can be anything, but it just seems really appealing to you. So that means that it has balance. When a design is imbalanced, it can actually make us feel uncomfortable. So I definitely want to touch base on this because you don't want to make your people feel uncomfortable when they look at your opt-in or your ebook or your graphic or anything like that. So elements of balance involve the study of weight, position, and arrangement. So size, value, and texture all contribute to weight as well as the position. So depending on where you place your element, or the color that you give it, the brightness you give it, or the size, is going to determine the weight of that element. When you move an element from the bottom right to the top left, notice the difference in visual weight. So that's a good exercise for you. If you take a blank canvas, you can drop a background on it if you want to, but take an element, a single element, and position it in the lower right hand corner and then move it to the top left and then see how that looks overall to you. Okay, moving on to the next principle, which is emphasis. By definition, emphasis is the arrangement of visual elements, giving stress on importance to some elements and allowing info to be easily received with visual appeal. So the main point of focus is the focal point. The focal point grabs your eye and then leads us to all the other elements and it's usually predetermined. So what you want someone to look at first is going to be your main focal point. And then you want to lead their eye to what you want them to see next. So maybe it's an opt-in, maybe it is a call to action. So you can be very deliberate in how you position things based on what you want your customers, your clients, your visitors to do. So your primary focal point is supported by secondary elements, creating balance. Visual hierarchy means arranging elements according to emphasis. So ask yourself, when you begin something, where do you want someone's eye or your eye to go first? Then where do you want it to go second? And where do you want it to go third? Emphasis is very important because you wouldn't want everything on your page the same size. So this way you can pick one main thing and then make everything else a little bit smaller. So that would maybe be your second focal point. And then anything other than that, your first and second, that's actually going to be your tertiary emphasis. So they're going to be the third, fourth, fifth, and so on, but they're going to be smaller than everything else. So now we are on our third basic design principle, which is rhythm. By definition, rhythm is a pattern created by elements varying with consideration to space between them to establish a sense of movement. So your keys to rhythm are repetition, repeating the same element with consistency, or variation, which is changing elements like color, size, shape, spacing, and position. Our fourth basic design principle is unity. By definition, unity is establishing an integrated whole by using consistency in typography, position, composition, and color. Typography is instrumental in creating overall unity. So when you select your fonts, try a maximum of 3 and see how that affects the overall unity of your composition. If you use too many fonts, things can be kind of disjointed or jumbled, or you don't really know where to look, and there's no cohesion to your composition. Color. Complementary color palettes will set you apart in design. No matter if you are doing your first poster, you're designing your first ebook, or you're designing your 5th ebook. Check out Color, KULER.com. It's an Adobe product that gives you pre-done color palettes, or you can select your own and it will give you complementary colors to complement your primary color that you're wanting to use. It's fantastic. I use it all the time. Alignment creates visual connection between elements. So if you align an object, whether it's left or right or center, the alignment of those objects create a connection between them. So those are the 4 basic design principles that I wanted to give you a brief overview of, so you can keep those in mind, especially when you're creating from scratch. All right, in our next video, we will get started doing some designing on Canva from scratch.